We're a bit wet in that one. I think it was worth it, hopefully. And welcome to the south coast of New South Wales. We've just spent the last 2 nights camping down on the Sapphire coast with my dad, introducing Papa Green. G'day everybody. And we've just come back up to Kiama here to check out Cathedral Rocks. The past 2 nights we've been spent down near Bermagui, photographing Horsehead Rock, Camel Rock and Glasshouse Rocks. I'll pop up some photos on the screen now from that trip. And we've got some nice light this morning out at Horsehead Rock, but we've just packed up the camper and travelled up the coast. Cathedral Rocks is just north of the more famous Bombo Headland. They're 2 towering sea stack rocks out in the ocean. Best accessed at low tide. On high tide the water can come rushing up and almost sort of trap you out there. There's a bit of a famous sea cave out there which you can shoot through looking sort of south down towards the southern stack. But this afternoon we're going to get down in between the rocks. We've heard there's a bit of sand around. Normally it's quite sort of rocky and pebbly out there, and there's meant to be a bit of sort of sand dumped on the beach, which is creating a bit more of a nicer, smoother beach out there. Fingers crossed these sort of wispy clouds catch up, and even though we'll be shooting out towards the west on sunset, we're sort of hoping that these wispy clouds sort of, I don't know, catch a bit of light and almost sort of get that purpley pinkish hue to them, and then sort of framing the scene with the Cathedral Rocks out here. So fingers crossed the light turns on a show for us. All right, let's go. From the car park down at Jones Beach, which is a short walk through the bushland back there, and now we're just making our way along the sand here out to the headland sort of at the southern end of Jones's Beach, where the 2 sort of sea stacks are. And the tide tonight, I think sunset's about 7:40 and then low tide's about 8:20 or so, so we should be fine. No risk of getting trapped in with the water. It should allow us to get right up close to the rocks and get some waves crashing in or spilling over some rocks, which could make for some nice sort of interesting, compelling foreground on a sort of a 1/4 second to 1/10 of a second exposure. You don't want to go too long for your long exposures out here. Going to about a 1/4 or 1/10, that kind of range there, allows you to get some detail in that flowing water and really sort of retains the sharpness in that water flowing over and sort of give that sense of motion. So it's about half an hour until sunset now, so let's go have a bit of a look around and see if there's any other compositions around and get settled for the evening and hope for some good light. I found a nice composition down by the water here. There's sort of a rock that's almost like a crescent shape, which I'm putting in the center of the frame and then using the 2 rocks to frame it either side. I'll show you around here. So there's this rock here on one side and this rock here on the other side, and there's this little crescent rock just down here, and when the waves are big enough they're sort of crashing over and sort of flowing around the rock on either side, but the tide's going out and the waves just aren't big enough to create the effect that I'm after. So if we come back tomorrow morning, I think low tide's a little bit later in the morning, which means the waves should still be flowing up and crashing against these rocks here, and hopefully give me a second shot at this composition. And then there's a bit of a colour in the sky on sunrise, hopefully get a bit of colour behind the rocks in the sky here. I'm going to play around here for a little bit longer. These clouds could still light up a little bit, but not sure because it's kind of the other side of sunset here out over to the eastern coast. Fingers crossed it lights up, but otherwise it's good to sort of come out here and scope out the location, and we'll come back again tomorrow morning and see if the light and waves are a little bit more in our favour. don't know if you saw in that shot then, but a wave just came through that was just big enough to crash around the rocks. So I quickly grabbed my camera and just snapped off a quick handheld shot. I think it's okay. I'll show it up on the screen now. It's not quite the effect I'm after. A little bit more water would make that sort of, that motion, long exposure effect a little bit more pronounced, but that's the effects that I'm going for. If a bigger wave comes through now, I'll get the same shot. If not, I'll just repeat the same composition again tomorrow morning. Well, the evening definitely had potential. Towards the end there, sort of the southern sky kind of started to glow a little bit with that sort of neon pink. I'll put up a snapshot from that now, just lightly edited. It wasn't enough to cut across the whole sky, but it was enough just to give it a little bit of colour. What did you think of the evening, Craig?
Yeah, a bit of a success. First time I'd been there, and yeah, it's definitely a great view of those cathedral rocks.
What did you do for your long exposures and your compositions?
Yeah, so I try and find some foreground interest, and with that one there, even though you've got the rocks out the back, there's lots of little rock pools, green algae, other little shellfishy type stuff, so I try and get those in my shot sometimes too. Alright, well, heading back to the car park now. We'll definitely be back out in the morning, and once again, fingers crossed for some nice light. That's all we can do. Alright, see you in the morning. And we're back. It's pretty dark here at the moment. We're still about 40-50 minutes before sunrise, but we're just headed back out here to Cathedral Rocks. There's a little bit of cloud around this morning, and as you could see in that intro, a bit of a gap on the horizon which might allow the sun to come up and shine through and give some colour on the scene. Low tide is about 3 hours after sunrise, so hopefully that'll allow for some compositions with the water splashing over those rocks there. Yesterday it was a little bit too close to low tide, so the water wasn't quite getting up, so we'll see what it's like today and get some water action. So as you can see, the tide's definitely up a little bit this morning. Just sort of coming into this bay here. So you're going to go get set up. But with the tide up like this, it does open up a ton of more opportunities for photos, especially with that wave action coming in and around the rocks and sweeping around this little cove here. So once again, see how the light plays out and we'll do our best. Hey Craig. Hey guys.
We'll come and have a look at the camera. What do you got there?
So currently it's ISO 1000, 1.6 seconds, might do the job. F10, always shoot around F10 for my landscapes.
No, good luck.
No luck involved, like shooting fish in a barrel.
Got a bit wet in that one. I think it was worth it, hopefully. Alright, back out to it. So apologies if I don't talk too much or explain too much in this video. Hopefully you can see there's nice light coming through, especially on the horizon. A bit of a gap there, that orange glow was coming through. So my feet are already wet, so that probably means I'm just going to be jumping in the water, in and out, getting these long exposures, getting a bit of a different vantage point. I've encouraged my dad down here to shoot handheld as well, just try something different. Sometimes it's a bit easy to sit on a tripod all day, and we tend to do that sometimes, but it's also good to go handheld and really sort of crouch down and get close to the water, get close to the rocks, and get those sort of more unique vantage points that really help to emphasise the scene, particularly with a wide angle lens. It's quite good, rather than getting everything in the shot, actually getting really close to a subject and emphasising that and making that subject quite large. So I want to get back to it and maybe catch up after the sunrise. All right, let's go. Well, all in all, that was a pretty good second session out here at Cathedral Rocks. I think it just goes to show that in landscape photography, persistence really does pay off. After coming out here last night and scoping out the location, we're able to set up our composition ahead of time and also able to tell that the conditions are in the right order. It was good to get back out here to Cathedral Rocks. I've shot this location half a dozen times now. My old stomping ground of Shore Harbour is just 15 minutes up the road, so quite often in my early days of landscape photography, I'd come down to here, come down to Bombo Beach, and come out to Minnamurra Headland and practice my seascape photography out there, some long exposures. And previously I'd kind of just set up on a tripod and just aim for the longest exposure I could, 4, 5, 6 seconds, and get that sort of milky water. And that was fine for the time, but as I've developed in my landscape photography, I've come to appreciate faster shutter speeds for long exposures, which allow you to actually capture the motion and energy in the water, and also allow myself the confidence to do some more handheld shots, get those really unique perspectives and emphasize those foreground elements. Alright, well that about wraps things up for today, so thanks for watching. If you do like this video and you want to see more, please do like and subscribe, and leave me a comment if you've got any questions about my approach to photography or some of the photos that you've seen here. Alright, take care everyone. See ya. Bye. See you guys.